just being in proximity to a lot of outdoor industry and photographers and producers, I would get solicited to model. So I just started saying I do photo too, and biology and chemistry in college, and like totally ignored my creative side. The second I was holding a camera, totally refound this joy. This is what I'm meant to do. It's center of phenomenal exposure. It's kind of right when I feel like I started to find that for myself. Smith Rock is a really, really special place. A female skater, she's like not wearing any protective gear. This is like a story of me exploring everything that comes along with photojournalism.
And then to be a semi-finalist, I mean, that's like, it's awesome. Welcome back, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today on the Photo Talk Show. This is part 2 with Jules Jimreivat, where Jules will show us some of her favorite images. In case you missed part 1, go back to the previous episode where you can hear all about Jules' creative journey as a photographer. So high-level bullet points about Jules. She's a Thai-American photographer and filmmaker based in the Pacific Northwest. She specializes in outdoor adventure, and she's contributed to brands like Black Diamond, Stio, and Patagonia. And she's made award-winning films that uplift women. She's also a model, so she has experience on both sides of the lens. And now it's my favorite part. We get to talk about some pictures.
I have organized this slideshow chronologically, so you can kind of like see how I have developed my style, and also kind of like how I have strategically grown skills and grown my business. This is the first photo I took as an adult. Or not the first, but it was the first time that I shot photos as an adult. My partner, Jonathan Chandler, is an incredible creative filmmaker and drone pilot, and he was working with an athlete, Sage Capicchioni, on a short adventure sports film about biking and skiing. And this is at a time when I was still working full-time as a chemist, so I just tagged along for the weekend when they were out there, and Jonathan, my partner, gave me his Canon stills camera. I don't even remember what it was because I was so green to photography at this point. And I took some shots that are still some of my favorite shots. I love that this image lets us kind of reminisce on the moment that just happened instead of the moment that's about to happen. And I think Sage is like an incredible athlete. He's so humble. He's so dialed. He's so good at working with creatives. And that's what it takes to have a long-lasting career. So shout out Sage. Shout out my partner, Jonathan. This is a photo that was taken on my first camera that I owned. I like immediately after taking that bike photo went out and bought my first little Sony a6300 like crop sensor digital camera. What I really like about this photo is that it reminds me of my beginnings when I was very, very motivated to shoot photography every day. So I was just shooting my friends, and that's what this is. This is an authentic moment with one of my friends on a beach trip. I love that it's centered. I think it's like a phenomenal exposure. Mm-hmm. And I think I now am trying to come back to shooting more candid life stuff. But I'm going to skip a bunch of A6300 photography now because I was learning a lot, and it's a lot of it is JPEG and shot at like f11 for some reason. And
why do you think this image is so strong? It's the same camera. What do you think about? I mean, this image. The thing that struck me, I saw this one on your website, and the light.
The light is phenomenal.
I love the composition, everything. It's so simple.
Thank you.
So much going on.
um, I think something that also is making the light really nice is that it was like peak smoke season in
Mm,
Oregon. That's why we were on the coast to try to avoid the smoke. And so all this like foggy looking stuff in the sky is actually smoke,
mhm.
which I think was giving like a nice kind of diffused light.
Yeah.
Um, and it's also just like a really great memory for me. I think that's that's really why I love it so much. Um,
But it's such a strong image. I could see it being like the cover of a magazine or an ad in New York City. You know what I mean? Like I could see
yeah,
it feels so versatile too. And I think
yeah,
that's an interesting note about the smoke because I know obviously wildfires are horrible and we don't want them to happen, but the smoke, the way that it can, especially if they've been around for a while, and it's that thin layer, and it diffuses. If you have bright sun, it kind of diffuses it. Sometimes it adds a weird hue, but here it's just like
here it's like
it's
it looks
bright, but
so
it's
good.
softened it just enough to,
Yeah.
it's like buttery. I love that.
And I should actually go back and look in my settings. I wonder what aperture I shot this at.
Do you do much?
But I
What kind of how much editing do you do in post?
Oh, a lot. And I'm going to talk about that actually.
Okay,
I think the next one, or
yeah.
no, I just put this one in here. So I've moved along to my first full frame camera. This was shot on a Sony A7R III. I again love a sort of centered image. And another thing of note in all of these first three photos is like they are very much shot for Instagram. And that's just an interesting thing that I see when I look back on a lot of my early work. Um, and I just wanted to show that I was shooting biking and skiing and water sports before I was actually shooting climbing, which is like my niche, I would say. But I was taking a break from climbing. So now we're getting into climbing, my Smith Rock era, which was very, very crucial to me developing my style. Um, I put this one in here because I had just started experimenting with like HSL colors and split toning, and I was going a little bit over the top, I think, but I really like this image as well because I love um, color pairings, and I really wanted to bring out the greens in the foliage in this photo and the red in the rock. And boy, did I do that! Maybe a little bit too much, but um,
Do you
but
ever
I
go
just love
back and
the
re-edit?
complementary colors. Oh, I do, and I did actually tone. I took this one down from where
Okay,
it was
nice.
even, and it's still maybe a bit much. I don't know, but part of
It doesn't look too much on my screen at all.
okay,
Yeah.
part of my style, I would say, is very colorful. I really like to play with colors and saturation. And this is kind of right when I feel like I started to find that for myself. I also put this photo in here because this is my dear friend Lizzie Van Patten, who, as we talked about in the first video, has brought me a ton of work and ideas and inspiration for my films. And she is a total leader and badass and business owner. Her business is moves mountains. She moves mountains, and you should totally go check it out. A lot of these photos are really personal to me. That's why I'm including the early ones. This is Maiza Lima, who was the main character in my first film, What's in a Name. She is like now an incredible friend of mine. And she was introduced to me by Lizzie, who we saw in the last photo, in sort of like a meant to be way. Lizzie called me up and told me like, "Hey, I have this really good idea for a film. I know you're trying to get into filmmaking. Um, I know a woman who is working on bolting her own crag. I think it would be a really cool story. Like, do you want me to connect you?" And she connected us, and I call Maiza while I'm driving out to go on a personal climbing trip in Montana, and I'm just like, "Hi, Maiza, I'd love to meet you. Like, I know you live in Montana. Where are you? Because I'm actually driving out there right now. And it
Hmm.
turns out we were headed to the same crag on the same weekend. um, and it was just kind of this like meant to be moment. I climbed with Maiza all week, and I took this shot. I actually don't love the composition of this shot. um, I This is a three pitch route, and I climbed this pitch first and fixed a line, and then hauled up my gear. And because of the way that I did that, I just didn't have, I hadn't scouted it. I didn't have the right lens on. I think this is 24, and to me, this should be like a really wide photo. I don't like that I cut off the line of her rope. Um, but overall, I think like this move is cool. The colors are amazing. And Maiza is like a huge badass. And
Yeah.
I like this photo for that reason.
It's a really, I mean, as far as a climbing image, like that move and the way you can see her face and the air below her feet and the, the colors and the tones, it's like really, yeah, I didn't even notice the rope until you said that. Because I was so focused on like
Right.
looking at that, full extension move and how jacked she is and just being like, oh, that's sick.
Yeah, it's a sick move. It's a really cool rock climb. And again, I'm doing a centered photo shot for Instagram. But yeah, the sense of gravity here is really, really great. And I am starting to like figure that out in my photography, as you can see. Um, Again, here, this is a good friend, mentor, coworker of mine, Tara Kirschner, in Smith Rock. Um, and I'm cheating a little because I'm doing two photos. But no, I'm doing it for a reason, which is that I am at this point really starting to think about photo pairs and shooting in photo sets. How can you tell a story with two photos or five photos, or how can you support a hero shot with these in between moments? So that's what I'm kind of playing with here. This was a editorial shoot for Patagonia for a story that Tara was working on, and so she called me up and asked if I would shoot her, which I was like 100% like I'll cancel all my plans. I'm going to be there. I love that in this climbing image, we're really getting that sense of gravity that I was talking about. The pillar that she's climbing on, it disappears into like almost a single point at the
Mhm.
belayer.
Mhm.
Um, this concept that I really come back to often, which is kind of just trying to deconstruct who the viewer is in an image. Most perspectives, I think we automatically assume it's like a human perspective, but I really like to imagine that maybe it's the landscape that's viewing this scene, or the flower, or the wind. And so that is kind of what I'm playing with here. I also really wanted to show the season, and it felt very Patagonia. It felt very on brand. so, so yeah, I love this photo pair. I'm gonna try to zoom through some of these. I
Okay.
just really want to showcase like the
Mm.
phenomenal women that have been instrumental to who I am today in my career. This is Samina Ahmet. She's an incredible writer and local climber at Smith Rock. And this was my first published image, the climbing image on the left, which accompanied a piece that she wrote for HiHeyHello magazine. Again, playing with the photo pair, trying to kind of show who Samina is. This is her dog Willow, and another perspective of the same route.
Oh wow, yeah, I didn't. It's oh wow, okay,
Yes, same
cool,
route, different day.
very cool.
This is kind of a culmination of like all of my time at Smith. Smith Rock is a really, really special place. It has like the coolest light I've ever seen outside, because it has all of these rock features and pillars that create these long casting shadows along cliffs.
Mhm.
and got really, really obsessed with shooting these shadows and golden light slivers at very, very specific times. And so I have like little slips of paper and notes and journal entries that are like this route, this time, like this date. And then sometimes I would like wait a whole year to like come back and get it at that point. And that like very much defined my photo style. Um, Early in my career, like picturing a single image that I wanted and like really, really taking the time to get it perfect. And that is everything that this photo represents to me. This is a local climber, Mira Capicchioni. I knew I wanted her to be in all white. And I was imagining like cute sports bra and
Uh-huh.
leggings like white, and she went to the thrift store and this was like all she could find, and
It,
I like
it has like a
love
retro feel.
it.
Yeah,
Has a
there's
very
something about this
retro feel.
image.
I
Yeah,
Exactly, I
timeless.
love how that came out.
Like if she was wearing any other color, you probably not be so. I don't know. There's something about the white. It's like she's an astronaut. I see white, full white suit doing the move. I see the moon, and I think astronaut.
Again, I'm like playing with color. I brought out that orange in the rock a lot. I really liked the way that it looked with this color of blue. And so yeah, I'm like very much like messing with the colors, and I feel like this one is more like I've learned how to do that a lot better.
Mhm.
Um, and this is also probably like one of my most famous images that uh, I'm I'm super proud of.
Real quick, can I just ask you, when you're talking about scouting and you have all these notes and things, like for an image like this, did you shoot this? Have you shot this before and just, refined it,
Yeah.
finally
Oh
said,
yeah.
okay, the person needs to be wearing white, or, did you know the time? Like, how many times have you gone out to sort of shoot?
Um, for some, like for the Samina photo, I shot this route like 4 days. And like these are two separate days. I was like experimenting with the angle that I wanted, which lens to use, which time of day. This one I was shooting a route next to it the month before. And after I was done shooting that climb, uh, around dusk, I saw the moon come up, and I just like immediately in my head, I was like, oh my God, like climber wearing white, like this time next month. I like learned a bit about the
Mhm.
moon's path, which is very complicated, but there are apps you can use that dumb it down a lot. And I did not know for this one that it was going to be golden hour when the
Mhm.
moon was in this spot. That was like a happy surprise because the month before, I took this photo in February. The month before, in January, it was like dusk. So I thought this was going to be like a headlamp climbing shot, and it's just a really happy surprise that it that it came out the way that it did. And one of those moments where I'm like shedding a single tear of joy as I'm looking through the viewfinder. Like those are the best moments,
Yeah.
when I'm just like, oh, it's all falling into place. So now I'm gonna move into not so much climbing anymore. This is one of my, in my opinion, most underappreciated photos. I love this photo. I love that it's a female skater. She's like not wearing any protective gear. She's dropping
Mhm.
into like the biggest bowl at this skate park. And then there's this graffiti down in the bottom corner that is like a no pussies graffiti.
Mhm.
And I just feel like this photo is like a big middle finger to the patriarchy. And I love that it's really simple lines and sky.
Even having the graffiti is like, that's an important component. If that was just
It's
gray
totally
concrete,
balancing the
it would
composition.
be like,
Yeah.
oh, this is a nice image, but that again is that extra layer. I also really like the light in this. I think the subtle shadows on the bowl are like, that's what gets me and the lines and the composition, but that's what kind of like, again, that extra little layer of delight in looking at this image.
Yes. At this point, I have like developed my style a lot more. I've shot a lot of different sports, and I start thinking more about how to take this style that I've made for myself and commercialize it a bit more. So these next photo pairs are all me attempting to do that. I think I've done it. I'm proud of this. These
Yeah.
are some bike shots. This was part of a shoot that I did, assisting and shooting second camera for my friend Will Saunders, for Mongoose bikes. So this is a cool point in my career. Other photographers started recognizing my work and bringing me on to their shoots. I love working for other photographers. I love being on other sets and supporting other creatives. It's just a nice pairing to me of product shots, supporting Will's hero shots, kind of like these in between moments telling a story of a product.
Yeah, can you tell me, I know we have more images we want to get through, but just quickly, like, how does it work when you're brought on a second camera as far as like, is Will giving you a shot list, or is he, just saying, okay, you're going to focus on product and you can do it in your style, or like, how does that kind of collaborative?
He did tell me, like, just shoot. Like, he was like, I have got the shot list. Like, I'm gonna get what I need. I just want you to, like, be shooting a second angle and be, like, super creative. Like, just get. He was basically like, do you and do whatever you want. Just
Yeah,
don't
push
shoot
it.
the same lens
Yeah.
as me at the same time as me. Like, if I'm shooting wide, you shoot tight. That was really cool and empowering that he, like, trusted me and trusted my style.
Hmm.
This was also the first time that I experimented with the slow shutter per Will's suggestion, so that's really fun.
Hmm.
I like that this one is kind of like showing the moment in between as this rider is like running the trail to get back to the top to do a short little jump line again. Fun in between moments is like this is what I'm experimenting with more in this period of my photo journey.
I love that shot on the left. That the motion blur set against that, like, almost looks tack sharp, but the brand, the logo on the tube is like, and I really love the kind of black and white motif. It's like, again, kind of subtle, but it with white, it's amazing how you can use, because your images are so colorful, but like, to me, white's not a color, but you use white as a color. You know what I mean? Like, it, again, in that moon shot or in these shots, like,
Right.
I would see someone wearing a white t-shirt and I'd be like, oh God, white t-shirt, really? But you've used it, especially I think in the motion blur shot on the left. It's like white, that is a component of the photo. And again, if it was any other color, it wouldn't work.
Thank you so much for saying that. I think um, something that I really look for in my work is contrast.
Mm.
I was very inspired as a young person by a painter, Peter Paul Rubens, who does really contrasted work, and I can see looking back on my early work, especially that I was very influenced by his paintings.
Mm.
Here we have, this is my favorite little like
Mm.
photo set that I've shot, telling like a little authentic story. Again, like this is me kind of like coming back to that second photo that we saw of the guy on the beach shooting a
Mm.
photo. These are really best friends that live in their van and climb and bathe in the river. And they're my friends. Yeah, I'm like telling this little story of these sun hoodies coming along with them for a
Mm.
day. I
Now,
really
did you
like the colors.
storyboard these shots? Like especially thinking about like the angle of, and the pairing to me, like especially the way that you've done the film strip and the sort of action, and then you have it balanced with this nicely styled, clean but colorful image. Like, did you have, or the maybe it's an upskirt shot, but that angle, like, did you have that storyboarded and that shot list like kind of sketched out, or was it just you recognized it in the moment?
I had a shot list. Like, I really wanted this kind of like whimsical moment of like throwing off the sun hoodie to like go run into the river. And when I got to the river, like the angle that I was visioning just like didn't really feel right. And so I just started thinking about other things that I could do. And I liked the idea of trying to put the shirt in the sky.
Mhm.
Um, I played around with like a couple options, but this was the angle that I shot the most. This like I'm just like laying at their feet, shooting up at them, because it just felt really right in the moment. But yes, all of these were not storyboarded, but like on a written shot list that I
Mm.
was checking off as I was shooting. Okay, so this is a set that I shot for Black Diamond last winter. The focus for this was gloves and apparel. And I just feel like I did a really good job of telling this Dawn Patrol story, um, with also getting the goods on the way down, and the glove is still kind of a focus of this action shot. I just love how this ski photo feels like a whoosh, and
Mhm.
you really feel like a gravity and a directionality to it. Skiing is the hardest thing that I shoot, like hands
So
down.
hard.
So,
So hard.
um, so hard. So coming out of a 1 day ski shoot with photos that I'm super proud of is like it was a really big relief.
Yeah.
And I'm about to go shoot another winter job for them. Um, Many more days and
Mm.
a bigger budget. So yeah, so super proud of
Yeah, so that's great.
the
Yeah,
work
it
that I
paid
did.
off. I think skiing photographers, I tried like, when I was growing and experimenting and I was like, okay, well, I'll just take my camera and take some photos of skiing. No. Like, you're just like everything's cold, everything's wet. You're probably in like waist deep powder in the backcountry and you're on your skis and you're like, okay, I got to get position. It's just, and then the moment, and you only get that. That was the thing I didn't realize. You think about climbing, it's like we were saying, it's the slowest moving sport in the world. And
Yeah,
then skiing is not the fastest technically, but like as far as action adventure sports, it's very fast.
you only get like one shot at a time
Yes.
because it takes a lot to get back up.
Hmm.
And a lot of the times, like the best like frothy ski shots are ones where it's fresh tracks. And so like
Hmm.
if you ski it once and ruin the tracks and you didn't get the shot, that shot is now ruined. So this is career milestone photo. The photo on the left published in Outside magazine, and that was the first time I had a photo published editorially that I felt like paid well, that like
Mm.
paid fairly.
Hmm.
And they also have a really big reach. So that was the first time I felt like a lot of people saw my image in print. I'm again pairing it with a portrait. This is Quinn. I really like that you can see the same waterfall behind him. This is after he dropped. He's kind of tired and proud. This actually is a really good story. Uh, I had spent this morning skiing a POW day up at Mount Bachelor. If you ski, you know, or maybe even if you don't ski, you can imagine like a big morning skiing powder is extremely exhausting emotionally and physically. And so I had just gotten down from the mountain and I was like ready for a nap, really hungry. I was at a coffee shop grabbing a sandwich before I went home, and I got this call from my friends that I had asked to let me know when they were doing something cool because I really wanted to shoot kayaking. And they're like, we're leaving in 20 minutes. Like, do you want to come? And this is like a 2 hour drive one
Oh
way.
my gosh.
And I was so inclined to say no. Those times that you can say yes can really pay off. They don't always
Mhm.
pay off, but it's like really crucial to say yes to opportunities even sometimes when you don't feel like them. So I ran home. I like swapped out my ski gear with my climbing gear or with my photo gear. I jump in this car, and I got these images that I'm really proud of. And I also got an image on this day that was in the semifinals for Red Bull Illume photo
Wow.
competition,
Yeah.
which it was really, really big. So
Yeah.
yeah,
From a
say
shoot you
yes.
almost weren't even gonna go. This is another thing I think with photographers that have younger photographers who have come to me and they're like, well, how do you get subjects? And I'm like, I just ask people. You asked these kayakers and you said, hey, I really want to shoot you. And everybody wants, there's nobody that doesn't want good images of themselves, especially doing these sports and these activities. You asked them, you planted that seed and they called you and like turned your whole day around and, potentially your career. And it's like, you made that opportunity for yourself. And I feel like sometimes we forget. We're like, oh, I'm slow and da da da, but you can make these opportunities. And this one paid off big time.
Yeah, this one totally paid off big time. And I did not know these kayakers before. Like we had some mutual friends, but I basically randomly like DM'd them and was like, "Hey, let me know if you want to shoot." Being respectful and listening, trying to understand where other people are coming from
Right.
is really a big thing too. But here I was just being really patient and I put it out in the world that I wanted to shoot kayaking with no expectations, and they invited me along. So that's like best case scenario.
And then to be a semifinalist, or were you finalist in Red Bull Illume?
Semi-finalist. Yeah.
Semifinalist? That's like, that's awesome.
Now I'm going to move kind of into more personal work that I'm doing now. Really interested in sort of a more photojournalistic style. This is a couple, Elk and Alysia Littleleaf. They live on the Warm Springs Reservation in Central Oregon, and they are fly fishing guides.
Mm.
Um, they're the only guiding service in Warm Springs that is run by a couple, a female male couple, and it's really, really badass that Alysia is out there as a female angler on the river. I just like that this was like a totally haphazard photo. Their truck has so much character.
So much character.
They
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 have
have
a
so
lot of
much character.
character.
Yeah. And like there's parts of it that are overexposed, and I just, especially now that AI is such a big thing, I'm really interested in just raw moments
Yeah.
and photojournalism. And so this
Unpolished.
is kind
Yeah.
of me exploring that. I also shot portraits of them. This is Elk. I
Wow.
really like this portrait. uh, I think he feels really confident
Mhm.
and comfortable and powerful. And I just love this little tree in the background that feels kind of like a little witchy
Mhm.
hand, maybe. It is a cool composition. It's a little bit creepy. And I like that like eeriness to the photo.
One thing about like a composition like this that I love is it feels so intentional. And so because it feels intentional, I want to look at it longer and find the meanings and you know what I mean, feel the feelings of it. And like I think that's something, especially if you're going photojournalism style and then you're getting shots like this, like sometimes that can be a hard thing to do in your own head. How when you're out there and you're experimenting, like this is a personal project, right? So there's no deliverables, you don't have any pressure other than your own drive to get great images. Is that, are you just kind of like always shooting, always playing with these personal projects, or again kind of developing shot lists?
This one, I think my shot list was like photos of fishing, photos of elk, photos of
Right.
Alysia. It was just like portrait and
Well-rounded
fishing.
photo set from the day.
Yeah. I mean, the main reason I actually went out with them was to get to know them better, because I think what they're doing is really cool. They are total advocates for the river and for Native rights. And our cool couple, and I wanted to know them better. So I just asked if they wanted photos, if I could come out and shoot with them for a day and learn about what they were doing. So
Mhm.
I really was not going in with big intentions for shooting. I was going in more to develop a new relationship, because I think water policy and water management, especially in the West, is very, very interesting. And that's through line that I'm trying to work on with some of my personal projects right now. So that's why I was out here on this day. This is my photo
Wow.
of Alysia. I really love this image. She feels really powerful to me, even though the truck is so big. I don't feel like this car is shrinking her at all. I feel like she feels very confident and cool and badass, and like
Mhm.
her hair is natural. It's beautiful. Like, I love the greens in the grass.
Yeah, that image has, I love the tones. Like there's some like really subtle, not orange, but like yellow into rust kind of ochre. I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's
Yeah,
not rust. It's like just before rust, that kind of like really
totally.
natural orange.
Another thing that I am really interested in is fire.
Mhm.
I'm interested in land management in the West,
Mhm.
and what are we doing on our land? How are we managing our natural resources? And so, another personal project that I'm working on is about fire. And I shot these on my 85 prime, which is like a
I was just gonna ask what
phenomenal.
lens, because what are they? They're both on the 85.
These are both on the
Okay.
85. I'm pretty sure this is like wide open 85. Yeah, this is like a story of me exploring the everything that comes along with photojournalism. Like, I knew that this controlled burn was going on out in Washington, and I went to it. I know one firefighter that was on this fire, but I don't know this firefighter, or I didn't before. Now I do. The managers on that fire were trying to kick me out because they
Mm.
obviously don't want like civilians running around on a controlled burn. And so I had to really practice like standing my ground while still being respectful to them so that I could hopefully come on another fire in the future. And knowing the laws and knowing that it was public land and that I was legally allowed to be there. And so that was like a cool, I had a lot of anxiety about it, but it was like a
Yeah.
really good experience for me. And I did gain a relationship with the managers that were trying to kick me out, and I have a little bit more of a network in that community now. So this is just me playing with more fire. This is some film photography on a private land burn, playing with a detail shot and a more, I guess you could call it a lifestyle shot. I just really like the film look of both of these.
Do you know what lens the one on the left is shot with?
I want to say it's a 24. I have a really big collection of really random vintage glass.
Mm.
I don't even know everything that I have in this drawer, and like I have a bunch of film cameras, and like I don't know which lenses go to which one. Um, it's very eclectic mix
Yeah.
of film kit, but that's something that I want to lean into a little bit more, and hopefully buy like a better, a little bit more complete kit. My last photo collection, this is my partner Jonathan. We were out in Eastern Oregon shooting for his cinematography reel, so I just tagged along with him and we camped out there. I just wanted to include this because I really like this portrait. I feel like he looks like a minion from the cartoon movie, but also like a cool
A
badass,
lovable minion.
a lovable minion. He's flying his red Komodo on this sort of custom FPV drone that he had built.
Right.
And so this was like really stressful for him because we were out like 60 miles deep in Eastern Oregon. Um, and I was just like having a blast. This is right after I bought my 85. So I was like having a blast, like shooting portraits and being outside.
Yeah. Most of the images you showed us are personal images.
Yeah.
I love that because I like haven't seen a lot of these images, and I feel like sometimes when, as a photographer and you're always marketing yourself and trying to talk about your work, and we don't have a lot of places to show our personal work. And I think, or like you said, you put stuff out and it just doesn't go anywhere. And so I love that you brought these images and we can talk about them and hearing the stories. And when you said you were going to do chronological order, I'm not going to lie, I thought maybe the first image was going to suck. I thought it was going to be like, not suck, but I thought it was going to be lower quality, but like just bangers all the way through. So I'd love, it's just hearing like the backstories and your, you know, your evolution and your expansion and all that is really exciting to just see where you're going to go. Cause I think like your imagery and your vision is clear. And like you said, you know how to get there. And so it's just, I'm excited to see the images you're going to create along the way.
Julie, thank you so much. That's so kind of you.
You kind of answered this, but you know, do you see yourself doing this in 20, 30 years? Do you have a long-term goal with photography, filmmaking in your career?
Yeah, I 100% see myself doing this until I retire. It's my dream job. I get so much joy from it. I'm learning how to not get so much negative from it as well. I envision for myself doing a lot more commercial work as a photographer and as a filmmaker, and then, like we talked about a little bit, getting to a point where I have the time and money to support my own personal stuff, because the personal stuff is the most important for me to stay inspired and to stay loving my job.
It's really inspiring. So thank you so much for sharing everything. See you next time.